everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
And today we're taking a look at a game called Águeda, City of Umbrellas, which is based on the Umbrella Project, which is actually in the city of Águeda in Portugal, where they put these umbrellas above the streets, and you can go look it up online. It looks amazing. I want to go. I really do. It looks like a lot of fun, a nice market, and that's what you're emulating in this game, which is great. It's one of those things, if I saw it, I think, there's a board game in here somehow, and I'm sure someone else thought the same thing.
Oh, right, and here we are.
Or Dustin Dobson and Milan Zikovic, for example. But anyhow.
Here you go.
Bits.
There you go. This is the star attraction.
Look at these umbrellas. It's hard for you to see them there, but these are little plastic umbrellas, but they have, you know what, I'm going to show you the game, and then we'll talk about these umbrellas. In every game of this, players are going to be using two random buildings. So maybe we're playing with Flora's Fancy Footwear and Umbelina's umbrellas. And then you're going to put random colors on each of these buildings. And then the other umbrella colors will go on this last one here, the souvenir shop. And these are going to score you points at the end of the game based on where you have umbrellas. Each player is going to get their own player board. It's made up of two boards like this with their little meeples here with cameras on them, and you'll have a painting set up here that matches these colors like this, and then the game begins. Everyone's going to start with some coins, and on your turn, you're going to be taking some from umbrellas from up here. When you take umbrellas, you will, you're going to take a row or a column, or at least diagonal row or column, and if you take one of these short ones, you'll get a coin. If you take one of these rows that's only two, nothing happens, and if you take a row of three, you have to pay a coin. And this is the only thing that coins are used for. So you're just paying and taking coins. If you have no coins, then you can only take a 1 or a 2 row. Once you've taken the umbrellas, you're going to put them in one of the rows here, starting from left to right. And you'll just place them like this. And of course, if you get different colors, you can place them in any order that you so desire. But again, it has to go from left to right. If you put an umbrella on a paintbrush, you will find that corresponding area that matches the color you put there and flip it over. And you'll see that as this game goes by, you will be creating a picture here with all of these. Look at that. It looks just like a painting here. When you do both of them, you will free this meeple, and that meeple then will move up to the top up here in one of these open camera spots. After you place this and possibly have painted part of your painting, you then will either bring down one or two meeples. So when you bring down a meeple, let's say I bring it down to this row, I can pick one of these two colors and I'll score a point for every umbrella of that type in this row. So hey, 2 points. If these were here, I could have brought down two meeples and then scored 3 points for scoring for red and for purple. But if there is a meeple there, you can't bring another one down. So what do you do as these get filled up? Well, instead of bringing meeples down, you can return all of them, and then you're just going to rotate like that. And then you can start again. You can't rotate unless you've scored at least one of the rows. And you can keep moving these around. The game's going to go until one person has finished all their umbrellas, and you'll finish out the round. Each person who hasn't finished it will lose a point for each umbrella spot that's open. Everyone will get some points for the endgame scoring mural that you've built here, the number that you have flipped. You're also going to score for the points on these cards. So for example, this one says, if you have an even number of red umbrellas in this color on the board, you score 1 point each. And then of the green and purple colors, you score 2 points for each umbrella in that color that you have at least of on your board. So whichever one you have less of those two colors, you'll score. And then all the leftover ones, you just add them together and divide by 2. Of course, you will be having scored during the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. These umbrellas bring the game up by a point, I think.
Oh, it is such a good production.
But not only are they just cool because they show the umbrella and underneath it, but they're easy to pick up, actually. They're easier to pick up than squares.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that's functionally better than cardboard. It's not a game upgrade because I want to upgrade my game.
Sure.
It's functionally easier to pick up. That being said, I do think they're a little bit big for the board. They get in the way a little bit of the market.
Or the board is a little small for the umbrellas. Yeah,
one of the two.
I think I would have made the board a little bigger, but I agree
I
with
can see
you.
that, yeah.
Especially from the market that you take them from.
Yes.
They bump you. It makes that process, which is an incredibly straightforward moment in the game, a little more fiddly than it should be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that everything looks easy and is easy. Easy is the word for this game. This is one of the most straightforward games I played in a long time. The only thing that's a little confusing for people who be new to it is the rotating of the colors.
Yes.
Like you got to take these back and you rotate. Well, now they're in a different row than the colors I put them in. Yeah, but you can build towards that. You might put them in another row for that purpose.
Right.
And so the game has some multiple scorings. It has the scoring during the game, which in one game, I tried that. I ignored the in-game scoring. I just scored as much as I could during the game, and that's a very viable way to play.
Right.
But you also have the end-game scoring. And the example I use one, like if you have an even number, you score for them. Then you make sure you have an even number. That's something in this game also that you can completely control.
Yes, that's true.
You're never going to...
You're never stuck.
What I mean is all the different scoring things, you put those umbrellas there.
Yeah.
Now, you might not get green. You're like, I want it more green or something. But
It's possible that the availability is not there, but it's unlikely.
But you're not going to get stuck saying, well, that green and orange were in that row and I didn't want them to be. No, you put them there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It also matters where, if you say draft 3 umbrellas at once, you can choose which one ends up on the token that reveals a piece of your mural, So it's like you have that control also, or you can time that. And it always stings a little bit when you waste one. You put one on a revealing space, but you've already done that one previously.
Yeah.
It's that small moment of, I could have gained a piece of the mural, but I didn't, It's... The weird thing about this game is, and it checks out with these designers actually, why I feel this way. This game feels smaller than this production. It doesn't bother me in this game. I normally think of that as a negative, and I want the opposite feeling ideally to be true. But in this one, it does not bother me. I think the lavish production here is helping in other aspects of the game. It's going to look good on the table. It's going to be fun to manipulate. It's going to pull you into this world, into this setting. But these guys do a ton of the button-shy games. They frequently work within a canvas that is this small, 18 cards. And here they've got this big box. But the game still is working with these like tiny spinning gears a little bit. It feels kind of small. I enjoy the feeling in this one. I like the things happening. The various moving parts are all very quick to understand, but they do affect each other, and I enjoy that feeling.
Yeah, it leads to some interesting decisions because it is very light rules-wise. It's very quick to understand the whole scope of the game. But that doesn't mean that there's not interesting decisions to be made. So you're talking about if you take that row and you take the 3 and you have the flexibility of what order you're going to put them down in. But you still have to choose one row to put it on.
Yes.
And so does it sting because you're not able to complete a mural piece or you've already completed that mural piece, or does it sting because it's like, that finishes that row and now that's limiting my future options? And so I do think that it does still have a good decision scope, scope of decision on your turn.
Even the little coin thing, which is almost like a non-rule. You can take 3, but you pay a coin, or you can take the one single one and you make a coin.
Yeah.
It's a very small sort of, economic element to it, but it's barely there. It's a tiny little thing, but I'm glad it's there.
Yeah.
And it gives you those moments of, I get 3! And you have to balance that by every now and then being like, well, all right, I'll take 1. I like that.
But sometimes I want the 1.
Sometimes you do want
Sometimes I want to take that 1 because I don't want to cover up one of those spots in the mural, and I want just another green in this row.
You also can't fall behind, though, too far, because you'll lose points for empty spaces. So you need to stay in the pack. If you take the 1 too many times, you won't fill up,
Right.
That's interesting.
But I'm glad they made the coins not matter, other than that.
Yes.
That was unique, like refreshing in a way. That
Every
it really
4
didn't
coins
matter.
is a point at the end now.
You can always just get 2 every turn and not even worry about that.
Right.
And I think that's, Tom, you talked about that, how everything intertwines really well. mechanism-wise, but you can also focus on one thing. Are you focusing on that end game scoring? Are you focusing on the actual tableau that you're building, of umbrellas? Are you focusing on completing your mural and maximizing the scoring in your tableau, or are you just focusing on the end game? It's all very intertwines really well, but it does still manage to allow you to focus on something.
The game does feel pretty multiplayer solitaire, I would say. It doesn't really matter too much what other people are doing. They could take the umbrellas that maybe you were hoping to get, but I'm not looking around a whole lot. I'm not really worrying like, ooh, you put those greens there, huh? Interesting. I don't really care.
It's interesting because I do think that you're only invested in what you're doing, but I never got the multiplayer solitaire feeling of this, and I think it's because turns are so short.
They are.
That it's just flying around the table, so it doesn't feel like, oh, we're all doing our own thing. It's more like, oh, the game is just flowing very quickly. By the time you've looked at the board and kind of calculated out, what your next option will be, it's your turn again.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a category of games here that I call welcoming games. Zee coined the phrase, and I like it. The kind of games that you can bring out, the kind of games that, I want to be sold at Target and big box stores.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those. I think it's attractive because of the front. Even if you don't know anything about this City of Umbrellas, it still looks really cool. It's a very colorful game. When you play it, it's easy to teach and learn. And while it's not the kind of game I'm going to want to play over and over and over again, because there's not a lot of depth to it necessarily, it's not like some welcoming games that are easy to play but also have a lot of depth, like, say, Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride, I could talk about strategies and this and that. This, you're just kind of playing. And the game definitely has some buttons it pushes, like, hey, do the mural. And you're like, okay, maybe there's better strategies, maybe not. You don't have to finish a mural, but I've never taught this to people, and I've taught this several times to different groups of people. Everyone's trying to finish that mural because it's just satisfying to get it done, and it gives you a goal to go for.
It gives you two things. It gives you scoring. You need to do them or you won't score them. You get the worker to score the rows. Yeah, it does heavy lifting in the game. You got to go for it. Plus, it feels good.
But you don't have to do this, what I'm saying.
Sure.
But the game kind of definitely points you to get those if possible. But still, overall, great package, good production. For me, a 7.5. This is one of those games that, like, I don't know what to buy my family for Christmas. I would definitely say, well, this is one to consider for sure.
I'm giving it a 7.5 as well. My couple of, like I said, small issues are, I wish the board was a little bit bigger so it wouldn't be as fiddly sometimes. And I worry that it might be a bit abstracted, as in the theme might not excite players, especially, again, new players. Sort of, this is a welcoming game, and I agree with you there. I am worried that this setting might not have the pizzazz you'd hope to get somebody. I mean, I don't know anyone who's like excited about umbrellas. You know what I mean? This place maybe, but not necessarily this theme. But I agree, and I feel like this is one in our own Dice Tower library that I'll be reaching for to teach people because I enjoy the play. It's one that's going to play quickly. I can teach it fairly easily, I think, and I'll enjoy the play. I'll be able to gauge what those players like or don't like about it, and then maybe guide them towards something a little more thematic if that was the issue, the flaw here, or if, something a little more thinky if that's what they're craving. So I enjoy it.
I'm coming out on 6 on this one. I felt myself about mid-game kind of bored. Like I said, there were some interesting decisions on your turn to make, like, oh, I'm going to hyper focus on this end game scoring. But by the middle of the game, maybe it is the abstract nature of it. As we're playing, I didn't find myself thinking, oh, this is an abstract game. I enjoyed the bits, I enjoyed stuff, but this is one that I don't think I would ever reach for. I definitely found myself bored.
But will you stick your hand in and mess with all those umbrellas?
That's like 2 seconds. Well, that's like 2 seconds. Yeah, so this is one that I could definitely see myself. You're talking like it's approachable. It's like, yeah, I could see myself giving it as a gift, but no, I'm good. I don't need to play it.
Well, there you go. Either way, let's take a trip here. I would very much.
Yes.
I need an excuse to go to Portugal anyway. So
let's play this game there.
So that's Águeda. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I think it's Águeda, but
there we go. What he said. City of Umbrellas. I got that part right. Maybe
you got that. Yeah, you nailed that.
I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
Have fun. Stay out of the rain. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.